Hello, my name is Jonathan Forster, and welcome to the Multi-Story Thinking Podcast. I'm an interior designer and educator. My job is to improve quality of life and productivity by helping people to create beautiful and practical spaces to live and work in. The Multi-Story Thinking Podcast takes an educational slant to the interior design world. So sit back, relax, as we help unravel the mysteries of interior design. In this episode, we meet Rachel Forster. Rachel is an interior and product designer and runs interior design consultancy Forster Inc. She's also my sister. Rachel has created interiors for clients including Coffee App, IDEO, the Sanctuary Spa, ACCA, Trough Bar and the Deaf Institute in Manchester, as well as numerous residential clients. Rachel and I set up Forster Inc. in 1997, and since 2009, when I relocated to Devon, she has continued to run the business, has branched out into product design, developing the Hotbox range. I met Rachel in the Your Workspace Hub, which showcases a range of office products from design and storage to task chairs and meeting pods. In this episode, we discover how an interior design project led to the development of a new office product, why tidying up creates space for creativity. We're introduced to the style signifier and how colour can bring joy, and why it's often a good idea to make the time to answer a call from your mum. We're sitting in Your Workspace in Clerkenwell, which is home to the Hotbox Hub.
That's correct.
Hotbox is a product which we'll talk about in a little while. We're surrounded by office kit from desks, chairs, but also meeting sort of spaces, acoustic panels, lockers, some of the accessories that make working in an office really productive.
And furniture.
Yeah, there's furniture. Yeah, there's some furniture, yeah.
Or is it furniture?
There's a bit of, well, this is the sort of crossover between furniture and accessories and bits of storage. All of them really useful in creating productive office spaces. And Rach, you've done a few office designs recently.
In my time.
In your time.
Yes.
What's the latest stuff you've been doing?
It's about creating spaces which work well for the people that are going to inhabit them. And they look great. And they communicate to the people who work there the sort of values of the companies in how they want to work and how they want to be perceived by customers.
You do that in the aesthetic language?
I do it in spatial planning as well, how we arrange the space to make it function, and how the choice of materials, combined with the choice of materials to make it look great and to be comfortable to work within. Because there's a direct link between creating an environment that is comfortable and pleasurable to be in with productivity and well-being.
People work better in spaces they enjoy being in. But also that sort of practicality of having the tools around you or the facilities or the services around you to do the job properly. And that's what's quite interesting about this showroom. It's a kind of amalgamation of a number of companies, but we've got storage wall and locker, breakout meeting pod things.
Sit-stand desks.
Sit-stand desks. So all these things which have been added to the design of office spaces over the years, in addition to the traditional desk and task chair. But your interest here is to do with the Hotbox, which you've designed. Can you explain what the Hotbox is?
So my involvement with Hotbox began in 2012. One of my clients, IDEO, we worked together to redesign their Clerkenwell office. And in the brief, we looked at implementing a sort of an agile workplace, which back then meant no fixed desk. So obviously, if you don't have a fixed desk, then you don't have a place to keep your things, and you need a backup solution, which comes in the form of a locker. But then the sort of the gap between how you arrange your things and how you get your things from the locker to the workstation the workplace, became apparent that I needed a solution for that, and Googled personal storage and came into contact with Jamie Rothwell and Hotbox. And he had back then a solution which was great and worked really well, but it didn't quite hit the mark with the creative client that I was working with. So I suggested that we work together, collaborated on creating a design that would be, I'd like to think, more sort of the Apple version, aside from a PC version.
So the original Hotbox 1, I've seen one, it's like a sort of rectangular suitcasey thing, isn't it?
Box. Well, yeah, they're all boxes.
Full, which you put all your kit in, your office kit.
Yeah. They're lockable as well. And not to be confused, because there's been sort of different names. It's a bit like Star Wars, which one comes first. Hotbox 1 is now called Hotbox Origin, because it was the original. Because we have more recently just brought out a new product, which is a smaller design, which is now called the Hotbox 1. So I don't want to confuse everybody on that.
So there might be a prequel you'll produce, like -1.
Oh, well, exactly. Yeah.
If we go
0.
down,
Maybe 0 we could do.
We'll have to flip back in time to see that. So we've got some of the Hotbox stuff in front of us, and they're kind of like little they're sort of bags. They look like sort of attaché case bags, nicely designed, and soft felty top. And inside you've got space to put your pens and your laptop or your phone, and there's one here with some stuff in it, which is
colour. This is the Hotbox 1, which is in a pink, millennium pink.
Nice.
The main drive of the design is to give personality in a sort of landscape where people were losing their desks, their fixed desks. Due to sort of economic and drivers to sort of reduce space allocated to desking because of this flexible working where people sat at a desk or they went to a meeting room or they moved around the office. People were feeling that they were having things kind of taken away from them. So the one of the big drivers for the design of the Hotbox was to give back that sort of ownership of space and also to have sort of personality. The colours, you can choose different coloured covers to suit your personality and to sort of make it a bit more individual as a carrying case.
So everyone's got, in an organisation that's implementing agile working, everyone would have one of these Hotboxes, lots of different colours. It's their own personal bit of territory that they take around with them. They'll be moving around the office.
That's right.
From task to task, location to location, with their kit for the day.
Yeah. It's a sort of a place for them to keep everything that they need to do their job. And it also is the carrier between the locker and the desk. There's sort of studies on time lost setting up your desk, which at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, if you add all that up over a week and then over sort of a year, there's a huge amount of time in the working day lost through setting up your workstation when you're in an agile working environment. The Hotbox cuts that down because effectively it's your desk is set up. You just take the lid off and then you're ready to go.
So your setup times are much quicker and you've got all your kit in one space, quickly move, portable.
Yeah.
And the design process of this, I mean, I've seen a few of the prototypes that you made, and it's a plastic shell with a magnetic sort of fabric top thing cover. And that sort of evolved as you mentioned the Apple version of the previous, it's a kind of much smoother looking, curvier, more kind of, I suppose, gender neutral possibly, and more attractive. Yeah, I think, it's not a big old case, is it? It's something that you could walk around, and there's different versions with covers and...
Well, it does a different job as well. It becomes a sort of a desk organiser as well. So with the boxes to put your pens in, it's made out of polypropylene, and we did go through a lot of different prototypes in order to get the weight right, because obviously if you're going to put things in it, then there's a bit of added weight, and it needs to become heavy. It needs to be comfortable to carry around.
Yeah.
But the Hotbox 2, which I collaborated on to start with, that's more of an individual piece, whereas the Hotbox 1 that we've just launched is something that can be used for meetings. It can be a shared resource, but it can also be an individual box where you would keep, there's a space you can keep a mug in it. You can keep notepads. It can fit a small laptop. It's a bit more sort of on show. Everything
that's more like a little sort of kind of carrier, like an art box sort of thing, open topped.
Does that take you back to art college?
Yeah,
reminds you of that.
It does. Needs a lid on it, really. I'd have loads of pencils, shavings in the bottom, making it dirty.
Yeah.
But but it's that toolkit, isn't it? Really, a toolbox, if you like.
Yeah.
And that's going to free up all your workers to be able to agilely move around the office space. Now, that whole design shift away from individual desks, I think we've, coming from a creative industry, we've been quite used to agile working almost by default because we move around, we have different clients, but that's quite a challenge for some organisations. Do you think is this going to be something that helps organisations make that change, and have you experienced sort of difficulty in trying to implement these
well, absolutely.
schemes?
I do totally believe that it will help these organisations make a change. I think you have to look at the sort of price point and where you introduce this product in the design process. It's almost, when you make a cultural shift like that, you have to think about your employee and what they are going to experience in this change. And from a designer's point of view, my ethos in design is to make life easier for my clients. I start with their needs, and their needs are to carry their things around. And so this product design totally answers that question.
And that sort of approach, I suppose, with things like lockers are often the last thing that people specify. Oh, we need some lockers. But you're thinking about actually a fundamental analysis of people's movement and what they're going to be doing. Start with the kit. Start
with what people need to do their job. Stuff is often the last thing that's thought about. But actually, when you analyse the day-to-day workings of an employee, they have to have equipment to do a job, whether that be a laptop, whether it be pens, whether it be notebooks. These are sort of critical bits of kit that need to be considered.
And also, just thinking about, carrying it around. If you've got this in your hot box and you can leave it at work at the end of the day, that's the idea, isn't it? It goes back into the locker.
Yeah.
You can then go home freed from the weight of all your pens and etc. And it's like breaks from work to downtime, doesn't it? It's a sort of thing that's contained within the office environment. And
that's true.
And
we do. There is the Hotbox 3 is a more of an on-the-go product, which can be used by workers, because there's a wide range of different kind of working styles, and for those that are in and out of the office, then the Hotbox 3 works brilliantly for them, because it's a case that
mobile,
exactly.
And that's actually, when you think about agile working, it sort of relies upon the fact that most of the time not everybody's in the office, because you're all sort of sharing spaces.
Yeah.
In terms of how the Hotbox is perceived, it looks like I suppose the danger of it, thinking of it as something extra that you could add to your office environment, whereas it's more like a fundamental element of that, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. It's something that needs to be considered and factored into the budgeting at the beginning, because this is, it's like a chair, isn't it? Everybody needs to have a chair to sit on.
Yeah,
everyone needs to have a chair. I think that with the locker, then the Hotbox is part of that solution, the two partner together.
So you mentioned you did some work for IDEO, just sort of thinking about how those relationships with clients work. What's the kind of design process from the point when you get involved with them?
Well, you're there to solve a problem. Okay, so the problem in IDEO's case was that they had a sort of fluctuating workforce. So they had to provide project rooms, so they needed extra elements adding, but also, so there was a practical side, and then on the sort of visual side, they had some real high profile clients, and they were quite embarrassed about their public facing areas. So the reception and the kitchen area. So that's the two sides of how their office was perceived by their clients didn't match in with the service that they were providing, which was obviously with IDEO was a very forward-thinking, innovative service that they provided. Their interior didn't reflect that as much as they wanted it to.
We've seen that with clients like ACCA, and they had sort of horrific interiors.
Yeah.
And they're outwardly trying to project this very professional look.
Yeah.
And you see it in their website, you see it in their graphic material, but when you get to the office, it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Which is nuts, really, because that's where all the people who are producing all the lovely glossy websites, that's where they're all working, and that's where they're spending their time. And there's been most recently, been a push into employee well-being, which I'm completely behind, because you create a space for someone to spend a massive amount of their time in. You need to consider it. You need to have an enjoyable space to be in.
And the small cost of something like the hot box,
Per person,
person, mapped over time.
For retention of employees and also for productivity of employees. And also, just that sort of feeling of being part of a caring company.
Yeah, so the well-being thing's quite interesting, isn't it? Because it's the sort of, not the flavour of the month, but it's certainly being highlighted by lots of people in lots of different sectors. And taking care of your employees seems really obvious. But clearly hasn't really been top agenda for lots of people. But you recently did some work in Clerkenwell Design Week about asking people about their offices. So it's a kind of getting some feedback about what people actually think about the workspaces. Do you have any insights into what people were concerned about from that?
Well, whenever I do start a new project, I send out questionnaires to all the employees, and I ask them 5 questions about their workplace, the current workplace, how they feel about it. I think that feedback is great because it's there's a lot of sort of areas where people get disgruntled. Cables and temperature and the kitchen and the smelly toilets and all those sort of basic areas which are not very well considered
or
neglected. Neglected's the word, isn't it? And a lot of that can be on a management level of having better systems in place. There's sort of ones about wasting time, a lot of time wasting sort of feedback about just how things are arranged. One client we worked for had, Mum's calling.
Oh.
Should we get her on?
Get her on. This is just typical. I mean, it's useful that we're both together, so we'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone here if we're clever about it. So get her on. Mum's on the podcast.
Mum? Hello?
There we go. That's the beauty of modern technology.
That's great. That's in touch. What were we just saying?
Can't remember.
What was it? It was something really... what was it about?
We were talking about...
feedback from clients.
Yeah. Did you get any kind of really weird comments, or is there anything, what's the kind of most unusual thing people ask for or complain about?
We've had a client who recently wants to have like a sleep pod in the office, and we created a sleeping pod. And I think this is quite an interesting area to discuss, because suddenly it's like when does your workplace become sort of your bed, and at what point is it open 24 hours and you can live there? I mean, obviously, when I work, working from home, there's a real overlap of different spaces and activities. You can put the washing on while you're doing a bit of emailing. You can, that's the working from home entrepreneurial, or maybe even like the younger generation, they're working from cafes.
It's the development of that third space, isn't it? Which
Yes.
which we were did lots of work with coffee shops and creating those internet cafes back in the day. And the office landscape is becoming much more domestic in its aesthetic. Sleep pods as well. I mean, that or kind of relaxation pods or sort of quiet zones.
Quiet zones, yeah. Because with the move to the open plan office, obviously there's a lot more sort of noise transfer. So the importance of having isolated spaces to concentrate in, or to take a telephone call, or to do a bit of to have a meeting in, but then to extend that into actually sleeping, I think is really it's an interesting area in how long or how can we extend the working day, or whether we should be extending the working day.
Sounds like going too far in my mind. I always think you should decrease the working day so that you put a little bit of pressure on people to get things done on time and quickly. If you and you don't spend all your time working.
Yeah.
Into the early hours, or even just coming in early, leaving late.
Well, there's companies that offer free breakfast, don't they, for those that come in early, which puts a lot of pressure on those on people to add extra hours. I'm with you, John. I think it's about working smarter. Yeah. Which is why it's great. I
like a free breakfast if there's one going.
Well, of course.
But it's. And if you do work early, if you're working well at that early hour, then it's a great incentive, isn't it, to maximise your time when you may be at your most productive. Yeah. And a little snooze in the afternoon might just give you a bit of a boost to finish off with a flourish. But certainly the landscape of the interior landscape of office spaces is changing rapidly, and we've got all this kind of more kind of residential or like a boutique hotel feel to lots of places. Softer materials, more colour, more texture.
A bit more cheerful, essentially. The sort of corporateness is being eroded for a bit more of a jollier interior.
Use of plants as well. We're surrounded in this space by lots of plants at the moment, and their ability to kind of boost the well-being is kind of well documented. But it's a different aesthetic and different patterns of working, which are supposedly meant to be more productive if you can get into the swing of it. I think the trouble is that lots of people who are used to traditional offices find it the transition difficult.
The cultural change. Yeah. But then if you look at sort of the younger workforce, they've been sort of brought up with laptops in cafes and hotel receptions. A lot of hotels are now opening up their reception areas to co-working spaces, and it's a much more fluid landscape.
And these days, are, the typical agile worker. They come to a lecture theatre, they go to a library, they go to a study space, every day they're working, they're studying their lives is agile working in practice, So,
well, I've always thought that about secondary school. In secondary school, you go from one classroom to the next, don't you? And you move about, and then you get put into your place of work, and it becomes a bit more static. But it's, I think that movement around, and also that sort of sitting and standing movement. It's. I think that's exciting area. Different positions that you can be in. To work. To
do the work, you cut down a meeting by having it as a stand-up meeting. That reduces the time it takes to get through things. So part of the drive for ruthless efficiency that we see around us is that idea of tidying up. Now, you've been developing a company called Sorted London, which specialises in helping companies and individuals to tidy up, in a way, if that's the right word, organise your space. But often when we get into these projects, office projects, the first thing we really get the customers to do is to get rid of all their rubbish, stuff they don't need.
The thing with Sorted London, it's about making space, and making space can be mental, psychological space, or it can be physical space. And so I strongly believe that the process of auditing, looking at and facing your possessions, then auditing and keeping only the thing that is relevant and, in the words of Marie Kondo, bring you joy, that then makes space in your mind for other things, and it also makes physical space in your office.
Yeah. So I recently had that with a client, and they had a pile of boxes of all archived stuff that was going out. It was the size of this room, which is about 4x4. A lot of space, and that actually costs money.
Yeah.
But you're talking also about the psychological space to allow yourself to breathe and enjoy your surroundings, and without the clutter.
And which is also a sort of a creative space to be able to move on. Life isn't static, it is constantly changing. And with objects, they come in and out of your life. And I always think that you don't actually own anything, you just use it for a bit. And I love the idea of passing something on when it's no longer no longer useful to you. You pass it on to somebody else.
So just in the corporate context, the tidying up of the office involves audit of what they've got and and anything else. What is it?
Well, it's about putting in systems as well, about finding places for everything, and it's the most sensible place to put it, so that's linked in with how you work. So we had a client who had 4 different storage spaces for stationery. And so we consolidated the 4 into one, and were able to remove those other 3, one of which was sort of blocking a corridor. And so we could remove that and open up the corridor and make space for better circulation and better light. And from just rearranging and reorganising the tools that they need to do their job, it had a knock-on effect that allowed a much more open, more enjoyable interior.
Yeah, so that sense of space, has space become more enjoyable then? I mean, what people don't like is being crammed in today, but you're thinking about creating space, creating easy access, direct routes, makes a space more enjoyable to use? Yeah.
It's taking away. It's not necessarily adding.
Yeah. Okay, so it's...
And I think we, especially within the world of consumption, where I think we have too many things, and I think it's a great exercise to really take a look at what we have and reduce what we have.
You mentioned earlier the idea of objects bringing you joy. What sort of techniques or maybe examples of that, bringing joy into design of spaces?
Well, I like the sort of notion of the style signifier. And I think everybody has a style signifier. It's the one thing that you really enjoy using, the one thing that really represents you. For me, it's I enjoy, we've got a tent teepee, which is a tent which is made out of canvas, and it's used for sort of expedition. It's an expedition tent, but you can put a fire inside it, firebox. The design of it is so brilliant and it's so wonderful to use. You can erect it in 10 minutes. It has a wonderful ability to keep you cool inside when there's blazing sun coming down. The combination of materials, it's a joy to use. So that would be my leisure style signifier.
Okay, so that's a sort of combination of practicality and function and materials and details, I guess. And so that's your kind of leisure time thing. Does that apply in the commercial world of office interior design? You mentioned earlier about objects bringing you joy, and I can see from this lovely sort of soft pink hot box with its pink pencils and its pink stationery pad, there's a joyful use of colour there, which, sitting on your office desk, a daily reminder of the power of colour to make you happy. In office fit outs and things like that, are there any other techniques you've used, or even in residential, about bringing that little joy? What's the
It's
the
interesting
techniques?
you pick up on colour, because I think colour is something that we're not scared of, and we often use colour to animate areas within offices. And it doesn't need to be a massive use of colour. I recently did a project where we introduced colour just on the door edge. Quite subtle, but it was a strong colour. It worked really well. Again, sort of on the inside of cupboard doors, we've used colour. So when you open the cupboard, it's a sort of a delighter, I like to call them, which is fun use of colour within.
A little bit of a surprise.
A surprise,
for
yeah.
when you're working there, yeah. It's looking at some of the interiors you've done. There's this kind of modern look to them, I guess.
Choice of materials, using a different kind of material in a different way. There was a project where I created the ceiling out of yellow bungee cord, which was cheerful, and it was a low-cost material, so the client was happy and it was very effective. I think it's about being innovative with colour and materials.
So those little surprises of colour and material that pop into projects lift them from, a kind of really well designed, functioning space into one that has little surprises and
sets it aside from somebody else, and it's an individual solution.
Rach, you graduated from the Royal College having studied interior design and interior design at Kingston prior to that. Just looking back at your career, you trained as an interior designer, started interior design company, Forster Inc., with myself.
With you.
Many years ago. And we sort of fell into that, didn't we, in a way, by just having a client who wanted a...
No, it was all... I knew exactly what was
destiny.
going on.
Do you think so?
I knew exactly what was going on. You were just hanging about one day and I thought, oh, God, come on then, Jonathan.
Oh, I suppose... Yeah,
come on.
Give me something to do, yeah. But we started on those interiors, which is quite the approach was quite sort of interesting in a way because it was such low budget, and we ended up sort of designing and building the first project actually in the site space, didn't we? For
which was great because
Children of Vision, the hair salon.
It was 1-to-1 kind of draw it out on the floor and build it.
Yeah. But that attention to detail, in a way, I think maybe comes through in the stuff you're doing now. The detailed design of essentially a product. I noticed, of course, that you designed that baby carrier when in the sixth form design course, and have you got a product designer inside you, or do you see any difference between the scale of an interior project and an object?
I think I love all different scales. So I have an interest in urban design and I have an interest in product design, and I think that all too often we are pigeonholed through our studies, and we should be much more Renaissance about.
That sounds fancy, doesn't it?
What we take on. Design is a wonderful discipline that can be applied to everything around us, from systems to products to it's a creative process.
Attention to detail, I suppose, works at all levels, doesn't it? And
choice of materials, the proportion of a building is as equally important as the proportion of an object, and also the manufacturing, how you build it. I have a real interest in making, and I love the process of making, whether it be, I always really enjoy the sort of the build of a project, because you can see your drawings through the skills of builders and makers. We've got work with some great furniture makers.
Roy Middleton.
Big shout out to Roy.
Legend.
And Rupert.
Yeah. Those guys, I mean, that's, looking back here, I'm going to go a bit nostalgic now, is that we had some great days working and they're still going on.
Still have.
Yeah.
Still have.
But the design detail of, creating furniture to go into spaces that were worked out in the workshops with Roy, and working out the best way to construct things, installing them. It was a really productive time creatively. You produced some great spaces for people to really enjoy. I mean, that's the thing, is that we got such...
You're getting all nostalgic, though.
Yeah.
Is this about you, or is this about me?
I'm just framing it all, just a bit of context. But that actually, just to what I'm trying to get around to is that process of understanding construction is really critical, I think, in design, interior design.
And working with people who can turn drawings into 3 dimensions. I think that those partnerships are really enjoyable.
What's the trajectory of Hotbox?
Benefits of Hotbox One as well is that it gets delivered in a cardboard box, which then converts into a locker organiser.
Oh,
so
yes.
you have zero waste.
That's good. What's the next Hotbox product that's coming out then? As I like the move to these accessories because it seems like they're more accessible, if you like, or more usable than the bag. Particularly if you don't go anywhere, you know.
Yeah.
The portable stuff is quite nice. What's the trajectory of this?
The next one?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's about developing desk accessories that will work with both of these hot boxes. I'd quite like to go a bit larger scale as well, you know, sort of maybe, you know, sitting in this meeting room and, you know, taking the Hotbox name, quite like to develop some concepts for larger spaces.
Spaces or furniture, perhaps, yeah. Yeah, I can see that. It's sort of a brand, isn't it? We start with a box, the Hotbox, which is just a box. Not just a box, it's a box.
Yeah.
But I could see this as a brand that has other products, you know.
Yeah, it's a family. That's always the intention of with Jamie, is about developing this family, because there are lots of different styles of working, so it's creating something, a tool for the different styles of working.
Thanks to Rachel for taking the time to talk to me, and for Mum for her cameo role. Thanks for everything, Mum. We love you. Rachel's approach to office design works on several scales, from the equipment needed by the employees through to the materials and finishes and the spatial planning of the office. The Hotbox fits into that approach and is a fundamental component of the modern office. It should be factored into the budgeting and design approach right from the start. Start with the things you need to do the job and work from there. If you'd like to know more on how to integrate the Hotbox into your design projects, give us a call at Multistory Thinking or give Rachel a call. I'd like to thank Dave Clark from I Am The How for production support and invaluable advice in the setting up of this podcast. I met Dave last week in Dartington, where he interviewed me for his radio station on Soundart Radio. It's a really interesting radio station based in Dartington Hall in Devon with a wide range of contributors. Mark Frith for composing the music and all the support and advice along the way. Kay Hanson for her planning support and co-hosting role for these and our educational podcasts at the University of Plymouth. I'd really like to hear your feedback on the podcast. Leave a comment or get in touch via Twitter. Next week, we interview Dr. Craig Knight, a workplace psychologist who's been investigating the impact of design process on well-being and performance. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.
Thank you.